Okay, I'm back now. I got a larger pen. I went from a '02 to a '08, so you'll probably see a thicker line coming off. It might not seem like it's a thicker line, but it is a thicker pen. So it should have a heavier line. And sometimes that's the way I like to work. Various pens with various lines. And I got to admit, your hand has to be somewhat steady sometimes. Even though I kind of crook the lines a little bit, but I can come back in later on and clean them up. A lot of people like for a lot of artists, excuse me, a lot of artists like for their lines to be perfectly straight. But when you're freehanding something, I promise you one thing, it's not always going to be perfectly straight. And sometimes people look at my work and say, God, how did you get to be so straight? I says, well, it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of years to do it. And I must admit, I've been doing this for a long time. How long? Well, I'm not going to tell you my age, but I've probably been doing artwork all of my life. That means since I was a little baby. Okay. I would say from the age of elementary school. And sometimes people always seem to think that college educated artists means that, your work is worth more. Well, I'll be honest with you, I've seen some artists who just got a God-given gift to do this thing called art. And they have just practiced and practiced and practiced. I'm not saying they didn't have any schooling, but they're naturally gifted. They naturally picked up the pen one day and they could create things. And school only enhanced the things that they didn't know. There are always certain techniques that you can learn from an instructor or a school. So I recommend all the time, if you see something online or an artist online and you like their work, or it's something that you want to know that you don't know, well, hey, man, YouTube it. It's on YouTube. You can learn just as much on YouTube as you can in the classroom. And the great thing about it is you can always, on YouTube, go back and do it all over again. One of the things about sitting in a classroom, well, the instructor gets up there and gives the instructions, and if you don't get it that day, well, you probably won't hear it again. So sometimes it's just good to get that good old technology and utilize it. I'm an artist that sometimes utilize that technology. Also, I have a lot of Facebook friends who are artists and phenomenal artists. And one of the things I've learned through my years of being an artist is that most artists are always in awe of other artists. I myself have artist friends, and I'm like, wow, I love your work, and of course, being a little jealous, you said, man, I wish I could do that. Well, guess what? Sometimes people think the same thing about your art, and what you got to understand is every artist has its own creativity, every artist has its own mind. Although sometimes you'll look at certain pieces, and you say, hey, I know a guy or a person that does work just like that. Well, that just goes to show you that great minds think alike. So I just want to say that if there's an artist out there and I see your work and I say, wow, that looks like something I've done, that means we have great minds. That's a joke. I'm hoping that you are getting to enjoy what I'm doing. And like I say, as you can see, I'm not following every line. I just use some of the lines to give me a guide. Later on, once I get all the ink laid out, I will come back and erase all the pencil lines out. And what I recommend is that when you're putting your pencil lines in, use a light HB pencil or above, on the high ends, very lightly sketch it in, because sometimes it's hard to erase those lines out. But, even if you can't erase them out, who cares? You're the creative person, you can make it work. Now, I know that everything that I'm recording is not getting on this page. So sometime if I lose you on the page for some reason or another, it's because I'm trying to hold the camera, as I said, and work the pen at the same time. So sometimes you might get lost on the page for a minute, but I'll try my best to get back to you. This is Brother Art Jenkins giving you a small sample of how my creative innervisions are created. You can hit me up on Facebook. You can hit me up on Instagram. And also you can hit my website at www.creativeinnervisions. That's INNERVISIONS.com. Inner Vision, not intervention, inner visions. Like you have this vision inside your head. That's where the name came from. A lot of my creative pieces, I consider them as inner visions. These are things that are locked inside. I want to say my genius mind, but some people say a weird mind. Well, either way, I'm Art Jenkins signing off. Peace.